Welcome back to the Goku Runner Talks podcast. On this episode, we have Partrick Cook. He has had some obstacles on his running journey, such as alcohol addiction, and soon after that, he got diagnosed with lymphoma, and with that came chemotherapy. Where others would probably give themselves an excuse to not work out, he pushed himself a little bit harder to make himself healthier than ever. Let's hear all about his journey on this podcast. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. All right, guys, welcome back to the Goku Runner Talks podcast. In this episode, we have Partrick Cook, and he's right here. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Did you go for a run today? I know you're a busy guy. You just came home from work. I kind of rushed you for this podcast.
Oh, no, it's fine. Yes, I did a 10-miler this morning and feel great.
That's good. I was like, man, I don't know if he got his run in, but I'm sure you'll figure it out. I've been looking through your Instagram and stuff, so I have a lot of questions to ask. But first off, let's go ahead and get your running story, because I know every runner has a running story. And were you always the fast runner that you are? You know, I've seen your times. You got down to almost 3 hours. I know you're trying to get lower and lower, but how did this all start? How did this journey start?
Well, how it started. Well, I'm an 80s baby, so I'm typical Gen X, hyperactive, ADHD, latchkey kid, you know. So I was always outside, hyper, and running around, playing and whatnot. And as I got older, I was a heavy drinker. Actually, through high school, 20s, early 30s, I was a heavy drinker, partier and whatnot. And I actually got into cycling.
Yeah.
And when I started getting heavy into cycling, I slowly stopped drinking. Like I didn't realize that I was cutting down. And then one day I said, what's the point of me even drinking anymore? So cycling was just like my passion. And I met my wife in 2015, and she was a runner. I was a cyclist. And as it goes on, I proposed to her in 2018, set a date for 2019. And cycling, I'm sure you've heard, can be pretty dangerous, you know, especially if you're riding groups. You can flip over. I didn't want to be saying I do's with a neck brace on or a shoulder sling. Yeah. So she talked me into signing for a half marathon, the Katy half marathon.
Okay.
And I started running a lot, and I was like, I kind of like this more than cycling. And that's here I am today on my third marathon.
So cycling, what about it led you to stop drinking? Were you just, you found yourself, it was like one addiction to the next? Was that was it? Or you were like, I could become a better cyclist if I stop drinking? Or you had no time to drink, maybe?
Well, okay. Well, I grew up in inner city Houston, and alcoholism and addiction ran in my family. I'm talking about grandparents, a parent had alcohol issues and addiction problems. So I thought alcohol, substance was just a normal way of life. And as I was a teenager, I'm talking about 14 years old, I started drinking. And I started like losing friends, like dead, from teenage years all the way up into my 20s. And I just kind of blocked it out. And I remember when I was a kid, I would love riding around the neighborhood on my BMX bike. And as I was partying, I forgot about that whole past and how much joy it brought me. And then one day I was 32 years old. I was looking online, and I was like, I would like to get a bike. So after work, I went to Blue Line Bike Lab. Shout out to Blue Line Bike Lab, best bike shop in Houston, by the way. I bought a used Raleigh mountain bike that was in the front for, I think, $200. And it wasn't the best bike, but it wasn't the worst bike. And I just started riding it after work, sometimes 10, 15, 20 miles, just hopping around the TC Jester path and everything. And then I gradually got into road cycling, and then put on spandex, which I said I was never going to do, and I did.
Yeah.
I was like,
you always made fun of those guys, right? Yeah.
Yes. And then by 2013, I was on a road bike. I had carbon wheels. I had spandex. I wore the goofy helmet.
Yeah.
And then I started hosting a bike team for Biker on the Bay, a charity run.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I would still party, not as much, but I was slowing down, like I said, but I didn't realize I was slowing down. And then I would even wake up hungover and still go ride 100 miles. And I
Wow.
was still fast. I was still active and everything, but I just didn't. I thought it was a way of life still. I was like, you get drunk.
Yeah.
That's what people do. I
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And we 2015 bike around the bay. What you do, you ride from Baytown to Galveston. You stay in the
Hmm.
hotel, and then you ride the second half the next day. We partied all night long,
Yeah.
and we rode 100 miles the next day. And I was sick. And once I loaded my bike back in my truck to come back to Houston, when we got back up to Baytown, I think I'm going to take a break because I got drunk last night for what reason? I don't even enjoy it anymore. And I don't even get drunk that much anymore at all.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to take a 30-day break. And those 30 days turned in forever.
Wow.
I just realized I felt better. I started losing weight. My bank account started increasing.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so 30 days came, and I was like, I'm just going to keep going until if I feel like drinking, I'm going to feel like drinking. And
Yeah.
then the December after that, this was in October. The
Hmm.
December, my dad passed away, and my dad lived a, a life like it was a hard life, and it was just I'm done. I was like, I'm done, and I haven't touched alcohol since that night of day before day two of Bike on the Bay, and on October
Yeah.
18th.
Yeah, that's interesting because the culture of running and even cycling, there's a lot of drinking. And like people probably
Yeah,
are like, running. They're so healthy. Runners eat like the worst food. They drink every time. So
yeah,
there's a culture of drinking when you're running or cycling. Like I know it's like it's a party. It's part of the
it
social
is.
aspect of it. So I can see how you could probably find that was just normal because everybody else was doing it
Yeah,
too. Everybody was drinking a
yeah,
beer after a ride or whatever. But that's good.
yeah.
You stopped after 30 days and kept going. And how long have you
Mhm.
been sober now?
I just hit 9 years.
Oh wow!
I
Congrats!
just hit
Congrats!
9 years. Thank you. And yeah, I think it was just more or less for me was I grew since I was a kid. My grandmother, sweetest woman in the world. Well, some will disagree with me, but she had a drinking problem.
Hmm.
Um, all my grandparents had a drinking problem. Then my brother, of course, and then he's a little bit older than me. And then growing up in the inner city with friends, I was drinking MD 2020 at age 14 years old, and I just thought that's what people did. I just didn't know any better,
Yeah.
and and sadly, that's a lot of people. I thought substance abuse was a normal way of life.
Yeah, yeah,
You
that's a
know,
lot of people. So
it is
I
sadly.
think I saw a post on your Instagram, and it was like, if you're gonna stop drinking, you don't have to prove anything to anybody. Can you tell people about a little bit about that? Because I feel like that's an important topic to talk about. Because
It
some
is.
people will judge you if you just stop drinking. You're like you're not social anymore, or whatever.
Yeah. Um, to this day, I'm 44 years old. I still get asked, "Why do you quit drinking? Why
Hmm.
don't you drink?"
Hmm.
And I don't mind telling people if it inspires them. But if it's
Hmm.
someone just using it to judge me, which they do that, they judge people that quit drinking.
Hmm.
I asked them, I was like, I've never once asked you why you do drink. Why do you care
Yeah.
if I don't drink?
Yeah.
And and to me, alcohol is just as worse, if not worse, than some of the other drugs that are illegal that are judged negatively on.
Hmm.
Which
Hmm.
like you don't ask people why don't you do meth, why don't you do coke, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's okay to say why don't you drink.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to compare alcohol and meth or coke, but you know where I'm getting at. It's
Yeah. Yeah. People just want to they're trying to, I guess they're just trying to ask for their own curiosity, right? Or they're or they want you to be, or they just don't understand, right? So that they're just like,
yeah,
he's to stop drinking, and I don't understand why he can't control his drinking or whatever, so Maybe that's
Yes.
it.
A lot of people don't understand that others have the addiction gene.
Mm,
And when I was a heavy drinker, I didn't think I was an addict to it until I
mm,
quit. I didn't think I had a problem. I just went out and drank every day and woke up and went to work the next day. I didn't think I had a problem. And I, and I think a lot of people don't realize they have a problem either, you know? And so,
What's up, guys? This is Rob on the Run podcast, your go to podcast where running meets inspiration. From everyday runners to marathon champions, we dive into stories that move us. Whether you're chasing your first 5K or your next PR, this is a place to fuel your passion and find your stride. New episodes drop every other Wednesday, packed with training tips, motivational guests, and plenty of laughs along the way. Subscribe now to Rob on the Run podcast, available on YouTube and Spotify. Let's keep running towards greatness. Peace.
You started running, and then one day you came home with a cough. And what happened? What happened there?
well, this is kind of a sensitive subject, I'm a very open person, by the way.
Okay. Mhm.
Um, my wife and I, we were about to hit our 1 year anniversary. We got married February 24th, 2019, and we were going on our 1 year anniversary trip to Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I wanted to get my running in before, it was really cold up there. And, you know, so I was like, I'm gonna get all my miles in. And I woke up with like this weird, I wouldn't say a cold. I thought it was a cold. It was
Mhm.
just weird. It was dry. I still don't know how to describe it. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go run anyways. I've cycled, ran, worked out, lifted weights with the flu before, you know.
Mhm.
Went for a run and it knocked me on my you know what. I'm talking about like
Yeah.
I made it 2 miles and I was
Wow.
like, what the heck? And I came home and I told my wife, I was like, I just need to rest because I want our anniversary to be good. And
Yeah.
I want to make sure it's good. And so it just kind of got worse. And then the next, no, 2 days later, we flew off to Santa Fe, and Santa Fe is very high altitude. It
Mhm.
got way worse there.
Wow.
And I thought it was the altitude.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, I'm not used to the altitude. My resting heart rate before that morning with the cough it was normally like around 40. A typical
Mhm.
runner, 40
Yeah.
resting heart rate.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it jumped up to 65 instantly.
Wow.
Santa Fe, it was 75. And I'm like,
Wow.
okay, it's the altitude. Came back to Houston 4 days later. That's when they announced COVID hit the United States. So it was already like a mess.
So maybe now you're
People,
thinking it's COVID. Yeah.
yeah. And my resting heart rate when we got back to Houston dropped a little bit, but it was still really high. It was like around 60.
Mhm.
And then I was like, okay, I have something. It's going to go away. It just didn't go away. And then the lockdown happened. I called a doctor. I'm like, this is now going on to the end of March. I'm like, I really
Mhm.
need to see you. My breathing is getting worse and worse and worse. And he goes, I can only do a Zoom call. I'm like, okay. So it was an ENT, by the way. And he was, I think you have asthma. And I'm like, my mom had really bad asthma when I was a kid. I'm talking about it
Okay.
was awful. She got over it though.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I don't know if it's genetic, but maybe whatever. He prescribed me some inhalers, made it worse.
Ah.
Called him. I'm like, it's getting worse, man. He goes, I cannot see you right now. Everything's on lockdown.
Ah.
I'm like, oh, this is crazy. He gave me another inhaler. I called him 2 weeks later. I'm like, it's getting worse.
Ah.
And I told him it's gotten to the point like where I'm like, and my
Yeah.
voice would get all scratchy and everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's scary
things
now. Yeah.
it's scary. So things started opening up,
Mhm.
and I go, I need to see you. So I went to go see him. He gave me an asthma test. He goes, you don't have asthma. And I'm like, so what's wrong with me? Check my allergies. Check my allergies. He did check my allergies. He goes, it's going to take like a day to get your results, but I want to send you to go get an X-ray.
X-ray. Mhm.
Yeah. So he sent me to get an X-ray, and He called me back about 30 minutes later. He's like, Patrick,
Oh no.
there's something in your chest. I'm like what? He goes, it's something, but an x-ray doesn't point out what it is. So I need to send you for a CT scan. He goes, does cancer run in your family? I'm like, yes, my grandmother just passed away from leukemia at age 84. And other family members have had cancer, but some of that's lifestyle choices, which I had bad lifestyle choices for 17 years. So he's like, okay, things are still in backlog because of COVID. So he was like, Methodist can't see you for a CT scan for, I think, 3 weeks. So I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But he goes, it doesn't have to be bad. It could just be something. Maybe it's a fungus. Maybe it's something. You do a lot of yard work, which I do. Maybe it's a fungus grew in there. It's something we can take. It might be something we can take care of with an antibiotic. So I was very optimistic. I'm optimistic. I'm like, it's nothing. I'm at that time, I'm 40 years old. I'm healthy. I'm a runner. I'm an ex-cyclist. I've lifted weights all the time. Beside my cough, I feel pretty good. I'm like, I feel pretty good. I'm lean. I'm low body fat. And then so I went to get the CT scan. I kind of walked in there very cocky. I'm like, I don't got anything. Just figure out what it is. Let's get it taken care of. I have a marathon to train for.
You're still having symptoms though, right?
I'm still having the symptoms. It's getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
And but I still have this optimistic but positive mind that it's going to get taken care of.
Yeah.
So I got the CT scan, went to work. He calls me. He's like, Patrick, this is serious.
Oh no.
I'm like, what? He goes, there's like a 11 centimeter mass in your chest. I'm like, what does that mean? He goes, it could be lung cancer. I did smoke for 15 years. And I'm like, I quit smoking when I was 30, 10 years ago. He goes, that doesn't mean anything. It could be anything. It could be, I grew up in an old house. It could be mold. It could be whatever. So I started freaking out. Lung cancer, you look up lung cancer, it's death. That's the first thing you think about when you think of lung cancer.
Yeah.
So I started freaking out. I'm at work. I called my wife and I'm like, she was with the client. She's a personal trainer. And I was like, can you go home? And when I made it home and she came home right after me. And as soon as she opened the door, I just hugged her. And I was like, we gotta take the next step. And it's gonna be rough.
Yeah.
And this is 1 year of marriage. So this is
Yeah.
it was a rough. We just bought our house, and anyways, we did more testing, another CT scan, and this went on up until June because of the COVID protocols and whatnot. I met an oncologist and she gave me hope. She goes, I think it's Hodgkin's lymphoma, but I can't cancel out lung cancer or even testicular cancer because Lance Armstrong, he had testicular cancer, but it grew in his lungs. And so anyways, test and came, and then my last appointment, she walked in the door with a smile on her face and she goes, great news. And I'm like, I don't have anything, bad testing. She goes, it's Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I'm like, how's that great news? And I'm like, so you're saying I have cancer? She goes, it's great news that you have Hodgkin's lymphoma over lung cancer, or even testicular cancer. I'm like, why? And she goes, it's the most curable cancer.
Oh, nice. Is it a vitamin that you could take? And is that the one? It's a different lymphoma.
No, lymphoma. Hodgkin's lymphoma is usually geared towards young people. And there's actually been a few NFL players that have had it during season. I can't think of their names right now. Dexter, the guy that played Dexter, he had Hodgkin's lymphoma on the last season of Dexter. I don't know if you watched that show or not.
I did not. But yeah.
And they said that's why the last season sucks so bad because he was doing chemo. But I had to do 6 months of chemo.
Yeah.
It was twice a month for 6 months, and I got through it, and I worked out the whole time. It sucked. I woke up every morning. If I couldn't lift weights, I I would go for walks. I got told not to by multiple people saying, you need to rest, you need to rest. I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm not going to. I gotta bring my spirits up. I love lifting weights. I love running. I love cycling.
Mhm.
I didn't run that much during chemo because of the motion sickness. So I
Mhm.
did go back
Mhm.
to cycling a lot, and not like road cycling, but more like hopping around the neighborhood and riding the trails and whatnot.
Mhm.
I lifted weights, nothing heavy because I had my chemo port right here, and I couldn't lift over, I think, 50 pounds of pulling. And
Mhm.
so I did a lot of band exercises and whatnot.
So how did
And
the chemo make you feel? Like you went twice a month, you said, and how
twice
long
a
did
month.
it affect you after? How long did a treatment affect your body? I'm sure it affected the whole time, but what the effects?
The effects, okay, when you're sitting there, you feel it going in you. It's such
Mhm.
a weird feeling. And the first day of it, you start losing your taste for everything.
Mhm.
And I say this for anybody that I hope that they don't go through this, but do not eat your favorite foods when you're on chemo because you'll never eat those foods again.
Okay. Yeah.
Your mouth starts hurting, um, and you just feel like you start feeling nausea. Day one isn't that bad. Day two is awful. Day three, awful. Day four, awful. And then day five, it starts getting better. And in the second week, you're still feeling some effects, but you're feeling more to life.
What
It,
what is awful? What's awful? Like you can't. You're nauseated. You
you're
feel weak or.
nauseated. I didn't really feel weak. F- think about walking on a moonwalk for
Mhm.
24 hours a day. You know, like those
Oh,
kids moonwalks. It
yeah, yeah, yeah.
just
Bouncy house kind
just
of thing.
yes. You have chemo brain. Like
Mhm.
your brain, like you'll have a conversation with someone and you will forget what you're saying mid sentence. And still to this day, I still have some of that here and there. I'll be talking to people at work and like it's not nearly as bad as it was. And I've
Uh-huh.
kind of gotten over most of it, but I'll have in a mid conversation just pause and have to rethink about what I need to say.
Yeah.
And so I apologize if that happens right here.
That's
But
okay.
it's not as bad as it used to
I
be.
might do that too. So that's just me being old. I'm 45. I'm almost
Okay.
45. My birthday is this Thursday. So
Well, happy early birthday.
thank you.
My birthday's in June. Um, and I actually gained weight on it
Okay.
because
Yeah. I was going to ask you if you lost weight or gained weight.
I
That's
gained
interesting.
weight.
Hmm.
Um, I gained weight. It was crazy. I think it was the steroids, and I was actually very hungry on it.
Mm.
Um, so I put on like a good probably 15 pounds, and
Hmm.
I'm a shorter guy. I'm 5'6", so 15 pounds on me is a good amount.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, now let's step back for a second. I was lifting weights and running and cycling a lot pre-cancer. I think I had the cancer probably like a year before that. Just the it didn't block my airways yet, so I didn't know it. And I started getting really lean, and I lost
Hmm.
like 10 pounds. And I thought it was because I was working out so much. I was like 7% body fat, but I was cut
Wow.
up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And And when I got tired, I just chalked it up to be low body fat or overtraining, and I would just take a rest day. So I think that was the chemo, not the
Hmm.
chemo, the cancer that
Uh-huh.
coming in, and I would start itching randomly. And I thought it was we bought a new house and we have a lot of trees over here. I thought it was the trees, I'm allergic reaction to the trees, and but yeah. So I think I was developing the lymphoma and didn't realize it during all that.
But you gained weight and you're lifting. So were you gaining muscle too at the same time, or
Uh,
no? It just kind of impossible because you're
Probably
still lifting every. So when you after each session, how soon would you get back into a workout? You said the
Usually,
first day, second day sucked.
um, the first day I would go for a walk with my wife. It'd be so my chemo was on Monday. Tuesday morning, my wife and I would go walk on the path behind our neighborhood. We lived in Katy, and there's like a path
Mhm,
that goes to George Bush Park. We would do a 2 mile loop, come back, and I would get ready for work. I worked the whole time as well.
yeah.
And then Wednesday, I would come in the garage, and I'd do like band work. I didn't have all this fancy stuff then
Uh-huh.
because everything was shut down and you couldn't find anything. Um, so we just had like little bands and some dumbbells, and I would just do something.
Mhm.
Um, and then Thursday, I would do something like I might go ride my bike around the neighborhood.
So where
And
did that come from? Where did that want to? Because I don't know. Like I feel like most people would take the chemo and use that as an excuse to not work out. You could like,
yeah,
I had a hard day. I could let me rest so my body can recover. But you on the other hand were like, I'm gonna work out. I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna do what I can.
well, I'm a very competitive person, and I say competitive with myself, and
Mhm,
also this is my insecurities of being the little brother and the underdog syndrome. Because I was a small kid growing up. I grew up in inner city. I
mhm,
have a told you so mentality to where people told me when I got diagnosed, they go, "You're gonna have to rest. You're gonna feel like crap. You're not gonna want to do work out." I'm like, I'm gonna prove you wrong. I'm gonna be
mhm.
me. I'm gonna do the
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
I love. This is not gonna stop me. And how bad it felt like crap, it didn't stop me.
Mhm,
And I think it was a little bit of my own insecurities mixed with people saying I won't be able to do it. And also, I knew deep down it was great for my mental health.
right.
I needed to feel normal because I was going through a rough time, not only for me, but for my wife. And I knew if I didn't do anything, I would probably be depressed.
Yeah.
I would probably, I would probably just feel worse. And my last chemo, I did take a week off of work and I didn't do anything. I wanted to enjoy the couch, watch TV. It was absolutely the worst week of my life
Oh, no.
because
I was like, you deserve it.
yeah,
But
it was because I didn't go to work, and also going to work helped me as well.
yeah, yeah.
It it was the worst week of my life. I felt so bad,
Uh-huh.
and I chalk it up to not doing anything, to make him to kind of feeling sorry for myself.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know,
So were you able to ring the bell at the end of this?
I I did ring the bell. My family came down. My mom, my brother, and my brother's kids live. A kid lives in Austin, and they
Uh-huh.
came down. My grandfather took day off work. My cousins came down from Dallas,
Wow.
and my
There was
of course my wife
tears
and
everywhere, I'm sure that day.
yeah, it was very
Tears of
it was
happiness for
very
sure. Yeah.
yes, and we had to ring the bell outside because it was still COVID era.
Oh man, yeah,
This
yeah.
whole time was during COVID era, and
You
that's
picked the
what was
worst time to get sick, man. Come
I
on.
know, I know, and it was yeah, it was hard,
Yeah,
but I bounced back, and I wasn't gonna let myself be a victim. I wasn't gonna let myself fail,
yeah.
and I think that's what a lot of people have to do. And not only with going through cancer or any other illnesses, you you have to try your hardest, but you also gotta listen to your body as well. There's times where I knew I just couldn't do it, and
Hmm.
I made myself not do it, and it was probably for the better. But most of the time, I was able to do it, so I did it. It was just harder than normal.
So
And I think
you came out stronger from
I
this, I
came out
think, like
stronger.
mentally, uh, and and now
Yeah.
you're, what are you doing now? You're running more races, and you did your first. Did you do your first marathon after that? Like a
Right after that, when I rang the bell, I was waiting for my first scan because they make you wait 6 weeks before you have a scan just because it can come back really fast.
Mhm,
And I didn't start running again. I still have my port in me, and also
mhm,
that port, it bounces around and it's very uncomfortable. So I hopped on the trainer and started getting my cardio back on the trainer. And then 6 weeks after, once my doctor said no signs of cancer, I put on my running shoes and started running. And I went hard right out the gate.
Yeah.
And not, I wouldn't say hard, but like probably harder than I should have, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
But and I was like, I have goals. I'm gonna run this marathon. And I ran the Houston half, and I PR'd the Houston half 5 months after. I ran a
Wow.
138.13.
Wow.
5 months
So
after.
what was your previous PR?
144.
So you like about 8 minutes, huh?
8 minutes.
Wow. Wow.
And but the thing is, when I was doing like little half marathons, I wasn't like, I didn't know how to train. I just ran once a week, and I didn't, I ran once a week, or wrote one long run a week, and I just went balls out. I was more in my weight training phase with running on the back burner. And I probably ran like twice or maybe 3 times a week, but it was one long run, and it was just fast, no easy pace. Just I didn't know what I was doing.
So how
And
are you training now? What's different than that?
I joined Katy Area Run Club. I don't know if you've heard of Katy Area Run Club.
I haven't heard of them. Yeah.
And it's a pretty big club, and they helped me out a lot. They had a club plan, and it helped me to prepare for the half and then the full of 2022. And I ran a 3:32:48 for my first marathon.
Three
And
3:48.
a 3:32:48.
Oh, 3:32. Oh, 3:32:48.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And my goal was 3:30, but I'm proud of myself. It was a year. It happened a year on the dot from when the doctor said that there's no signs of cancer.
Yeah. So that was like a special race. So what happened with that race? It was your first one, so I mean, you learn a lot during your first marathon too. So what did happen in that race? How did it go? How did it feel crossing the finish line after a year as a diagnosis?
It was great. It was a great moment. Running down Allen Parkway alone is such a surreal moment. When you're running down Allen Parkway towards the last 2 miles, it's such a surreal moment of all these people are cheering you on.
Yeah.
Even though they're cheering on thousands of other people, but you feel that they're cheering you on. And then you cross it and you go, that was awesome. It sucks, but it's awesome.
Yeah, that's exactly the feeling, right?
It is. It's like that was. And then you sit there and think, I'm never doing this again. But then you register the day after.
100%. I always tell the story where you're running down Allen Parkway, and they have the speakers, and they're like, there's commercials going on. Sign up early tomorrow. It's the cheapest it'll ever be. I'm like, shut up! I don't want to hear any of this right now. But then you do sign up right after the race.
Yeah. Now that year I did not do 2023. When I finished the Houston Marathon, I felt that my body wasn't quite recovered yet, and I kind of just ignored it. And I was like, I ran the marathon, and I'm just going to take a year off from long distance running. And I did I did a couple 25K trail races. I did Wild Hare. I did, was it San Felipe Shootout, stuff like that.
You did pretty good. Yeah, like 10th place, right over there. You did pretty good.
Yeah. So, and I just
why did you move to trails?
Runs. What? Something different, and I felt I could still lift really heavy because I wanted to lift heavy. I wanted to gain my strength back. And I felt with trail running, it's easier to do because it's not, you're not weight weaning like you are with road running when you're on the trails. It's more relaxed, less ego, and it's probably what I needed. And something different. I did my marathon, and I'm
Yeah,
kind of moved on to
I
trail
love
for a
trail
year.
running. It's a lot. You get a lot slower though doing trail runs.
You do.
That's the only problem. I'm super
I
slow
got
now.
humbled. I got humbled. I took off and I got dropped. I got dropped at the end, but it, it was fun, and I actually probably prefer trail running now. It's just hard to train
Mhm.
for trail running in Houston.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
nowhere to do it. You have to
There-
drive.
there's no elevation. There's no trails. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But after I finished Wild Hair, I was kind of mad at myself. I didn't hit my goal for Houston. And I said,
Mhm.
and it was beating me up. It was making me kind of, I wouldn't say unhappy, but it was like, I needed to. I needed to hit the sub 330.
Yeah. So you went back.
And I went back and I hit, I think my, I think it was 3:18:14 was my marathon time for
Nice.
last year. And I still had some in the tank. I could have gone faster, and I'm beating myself up from that. But that's a part of it. You learn.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So is that a BQ time? I don't know because I'm never gonna hit that. So I know is
I,
it 3:15 you have to go or
I'm kind of mad at my mom and my dad because I was 1 month too young to Boston qualify.
oh no.
My
So you
birthday's June
should
8th, a little over a month. So if I was born April 28th, I think it would have been a BQ.
Oh wow. That's funny.
Yeah. So I'm like, why couldn't have y'all thought about this earlier? I mean,
Think about the
um,
BQ. And then now it's even lower now, so now you have to go faster,
yeah,
right?
but I'm there. I know I'm there.
Mhm. Is that your goal for 20? Are you signed up for 2025?
Yes. I
This year.
signed up, and I'm faster this year.
Mhm.
It's crazy. I'm getting faster with age. It's weird. I, I think it's because I know I was still in recovery. My first training block. I
Mhm.
denied it during, but I know I was. I can tell the difference.
So now you
And
think you're fully recovered, and that's what's really helping you, and
I'm
you're training with
fully
your
recovered.
Katie group. And do you have a
Yeah.
coach or anything?
No, I actually use the Jack Daniels Q2 plan.
Okay. Yeah,
You know who
yeah.
Coach Jack Daniels is?
Yeah,
I
I
use
know
his
Jack
plan.
Daniels. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel I modify it, of course, because he's a little
Mhm.
aggressive.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, I think his is more aimed to like college students that have the more like 2 long runs a week. Is like I cannot wake up at 2:30 in the morning and do a 15-mile run, you know. um, but I feel it really helps me. So I have a 310 and sub 310 in the bank this year. If
Nice. Wow.
if the weather if the weather
Yeah. Yeah.
gets
Somebody
decent.
said it. Somebody for some reason they said it's gonna be hot. I was like, how can you tell so far away? We are too
Yeah.
far to predict the weather right now.
It,
So
it's
I
because
want
it's
cold weather.
La Nina. It's an La Nina winter. So La Nina
Oh.
winters we usually have hot, but still,
Oh no. Yeah.
yeah. But that doesn't mean anything. 2022, when I ran 2022, that was a La Nina winter, which that winter was hot, but it
Hmm.
was 36 degrees at the start.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah.
So so yeah,
I'll
you
take
know,
that.
yeah, yeah. But actually, I left this out. When I got diagnosed, or when I started coughing, I actually, you know who Nick Bear is?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, that's
Athlete extraordinaire.
yeah. By the way, I used to call myself a hybrid athlete before him when I was cycling and lifting weights a lot. When I
You were the
would say that,
first.
people say, yeah, well, I don't know if I was the first, but like people are like, oh, you're copying Nick Bear. I'm like, no, I call myself a hybrid athlete in 2016, 2017.
You should have coined
But
the phrase, had it on
I should
T-shirts. You would have been. You would have
I
been
should
way better.
have. But I he's a bigger guy, of course, and like he was big
Hmm.
into weight training,
Yeah.
and I followed him more in his bodybuilding days. And he goes, I'm gonna Boston qualify and still lift heavy. I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
can do that.
220 pounds, whatever he was. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, he dropped down to 180 when he Boston qualified.
Mm. Yeah.
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 Now he looks bigger. He still is big. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but he's a lot smaller than he used to be.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. He was. Yeah. He got down to like 180 when he ran that 247 or 246, whatever
yeah,
he did.
it's impressive though. No matter, well, that anything sub 3 is impressive for anybody. So
Yeah.
sub 310 is running a marathon is impressive. it don't matter how
Regardless,
long.
yeah.
Regardless, it's impressive. If you run a 5-hour marathon or a 3-hour marathon or a 2-hour marathon, you're still in that 1%.
But seeing
That
a big
does
guy
stuff that
like
other people
him
do.
and Nick do that at that pace, that's like, whoa.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but yeah, that kind of inspired me because I was getting faster. Like
Hmm.
I think I had I forgot. I don't even know my times before then, but I was starting to train for the 2021 marathon. It got canceled anyways because of COVID.
Yeah, yeah.
But I would have had to cancel it because of my situation, of course.
So you were the original hybrid athlete. So how does weight training work into your current training program? Are you not doing legs? Are you uh, how does it help you at least?
Right this year, I I cut down. I still weight train. I do upper body on Fridays. My bench pressing,
Hmm.
my pull ups, my shoulders. I don't do much because I'm not going to put on muscle right now anyway. So I'm not going
Hmm.
to waste the energy. That's just my
Right.
take on it. Um, I do legs, and it's just simple leg stuff like Bulgarian split squats,
Hmm.
single leg deadlifts, calf raises on Wednesday after my Q2 session. I have a track day usually on Tuesdays, and there's still fatigue, but like it helps me recover and it builds strength.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like two birds, one stone for that. Um,
Well, so a lot of
ab-
hamstring work you're doing, huh?
yes, and a lot of calf.
Gaps.
Usually after a marathon block. Do you know who Mind Pump is?
I don't know.
The podcasters. They're probably the best people in fitness, to be honest with you, for
Okay.
weight training. They have the best plans. I do MAPS anabolic, and I put on I put on muscle pretty quickly. So I run that program for 6 weeks. I get my strength back up after a big marathon block or whatever I do, and then I hold on to it, and then I know I'm going to lose weight during when I'm running 60 miles a week. I know I'm going to. That's going to be muscle. So
Yeah.
I do pretty good at holding on to it. So I still have a lot of strength. I just
So
lost
that's
some of it.
so that's what you're running about 60 miles a week for your current training plan.
My my peak is 60.
So
Fi-
what's a week in training with you right now? Like what are you doing this week?
This week is actually a down week, and it's
Hmm.
46,
Mm,
46
yeah.
miles. I do have the turkey trot on Thursday, which is um, a 10K plus. I have to do a 2 mile warm up, 2 miles cool down at the
Yeah.
end, so 9 miles. But it's a down week. If I go balls out, I'll go balls out.
Yeah. You're
I
gonna
don't
go
know.
balls out.
I
100%.
probably
You're
will.
gonna go balls out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see it on
Um,
your Instagram.
yeah, probably so. 10Ks are my kryptonite though. I do not do good with 10Ks. I don't know
Okay.
why. It's just well, I used to be a smoker, as I said, and also one of the chemo drugs I was on is a chemo drug called bleomycin, and
Mhm.
bleomycin attacks the lungs, and I think that's why 10Ks are my kryptonite because when you get to 10K pace for that long, your lungs are working extra hard, and
Mhm.
I just my diaphragm cramps up to where I can't even like I don't even know if it's a side stitch. It knocks me down.
Wow.
So I usually have to take like mile 6 or mile 5. I usually have to like stop and scream and then bounce back up.
So you told me you're gonna do Rocky Raccoon. Are you doing Rocky Raccoon, the 100 miler?
Yes. No, I'm doing the 50K right now.
Okay, 50K.
I'm
Okay, nice.
I'm doing the 50K, and then I'm probably going to do Wild Hair 50 miler.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
uh, I have to convince my wife to do the 100 miler. I made the mistake of one day we were driving, and I was listening to David Goggins' book, and he talked about his post 100 miler, the stuff that happened to him, and she
Uh,
looked at me dead in the eye. She goes, "You're never doing this." So
See,
I that
you're kind of extreme like David Goggins. I feel like you got a little bit of Goggins in you. Like if you could work out after treatments and all that's pretty badass. Than him crapping his pants
yeah.
and bleeding after his 100 miler. So
Yeah, but the difference between him and I love David Goggins, but if you have a broken ankle, don't run. Just don't run. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, just don't do that. Don't duct tape your legs together or feet together, whatever he did. So I do have to convince my wife to let me do a 100 miler. Um, I
She's a
almost
runner
got
too,
talked.
right?
She is, but she is a fun runner. Like
Mm.
she doesn't
Yeah,
run for
yeah,
speed. I'm very
yeah.
jealous of her, to be honest with you. She
Yeah.
doesn't care if it takes her 3 hours to do a half marathon. It takes her like
Yeah.
2 hours to do a half marathon, but
Yeah.
she just does it with a smile on her face, or she enjoys it. She doesn't care about the speed aspect like me.
Yeah.
I'm very competitive. I have to be good because that person said I can't be good. And
Yeah.
like I said, it's my own insecurities. So I have to go balls out and do it. And I'm
I used to
very
have
envious of her.
I used to have three categories for runners, which was one was a fun runner, the second was like a mix between the fun runner and then the serious runner, and then of course you got the serious runners or speedies as I call them. So
Yeah.
I think you're definitely in this just the speedies category.
Yeah. Well, I have fun when I run with my group.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm
People.
talking about during a race. During a
Oh
race.
yeah, during the race. I don't. Yeah, I'm focused. The group actually calls me the podcast because
Are you talking the whole
as you can
time?
tell, I've had an interesting life. And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
like when I run, for some reason, I let it all out.
yeah.
And they sit there and they say, "You've had a interesting life." And I'm like, "Yeah." And then I get done. I'm like, "Did I just spill my whole life story to these people I run with?" But also that's a part of like running. It's therapy.
Yeah,
It's
100%,
my it's
100%.
it's my therapy. And
Yeah.
and and I guess when you're going through that moment, you express yourself a lot easier because you're thinking about it and you're releasing what your trauma. You're releasing your trauma. And
Mhm,
I'm a very outspoken person, so I'm just going to say stuff.
mhm.
And I'm not a private person, so
Yeah. Hey,
but
you said you weren't too much on social media, but I was scrolling down all your Instagram. I never got to the end of it. I never got
no,
to the
no.
end of
Okay,
it.
let me rephrase that. No, I'm way too active on social media. I deleted my Facebook app just so I don't look on there.
Yeah.
Um, it, I'm private. I have a private
Uh-huh.
account just because of my job and everything,
Mhm.
and I can post trolling stuff just because I have a weird sense of humor, and also I'm I don't want to be nothing against influencers, but I don't want to be. I don't want to be that way. I like to tell my
Mhm.
story. I want to inspire the people that matter. I don't
Uh-huh.
want to. I just I want to help people, but not be public about it. Like not be like
Mhm.
I don't want to say don't be public because of course we're public right now,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I guess it's hard to say. Yeah, I just don't want to
Not too
be
showy, not too showy
not
about it
too
maybe.
showy, not
Okay.
too showy, and nothing against influencers. I love influencers. I mean, Nick Barron inspired me,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
a lot of like I just found you recently,
Yeah.
and
How'd you
I've
find
looked at
me?
your
Let's talk about that.
um I was first of all, who we're talking about, the
Yes.
e-bike situation. I know you're not shy about the topic, and I haven't been either.
Mhm.
Um, the day he posted, "I'm running New York Marathon," I said, "Don't let your e-bike get in the way of someone's PR."
Oh, you
I
you
said
you said
that.
that, you
I
on
said
his,
that
post, whatever?
on his
Wow.
post before he even ran it. And
Wow.
like 2 days later, I got like 400 likes on that response instantly. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
I'm
what
like, this
happened?
is weird. And then like I'm like, well, people didn't like it before. And then someone
Yeah.
responded. I'm like, well, guess what happened? You called it, dude. And so like I just went to his Instagram, and then he's doing this
Apology and all
BS
that.
apology. And
Yeah.
it's like, come on, dude. It's like, and nothing, like I said, I love influencers if they're there for the right reasons. Like I can tell you're there for the right reasons. If you even want to be called an influencer, there's some people that
Uh-huh.
don't even want to be called that, but you're a content creator.
Yeah, I like
And
that better.
yeah, you're a content creator. And then I use this for my mental health.
Hmm.
And to me, the stuff that he does mocks people like me, you, and other people that running, cycling, lifting weights, or whatever you do, say like how it saved us.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you have someone that does these narcissistic acts that gets in our way and makes a mockery with some BS apology that would gladly do it again the following week
Hmm.
if he had a chance.
Yeah,
And
it's not the first time he apologized though. See, if it was the first time,
yeah,
then I could see people defending him. But this was like literally the fifth video of him apologizing. So it's like,
yeah,
is he really? Is he learning anything? So
yeah, and it's like, and that's why that's what it got me. It's like people become good runners, or they do these marathons, they do trail races for their mental health to improve themselves, and you're making a mockery out of them.
yeah, yeah.
Make
Easy
your
to.
money, make dope. You can make dope content without being
In people's
a
way.
uh, a narcissistic. Um, my biggest inspiration for running, and sorry if he doesn't want to be called an influencer, he's not an influencer. He's a really cool guy. His name is Patrick Cutter. He's a bigger
Mm,
runner. He's like a 237
okay.
marathoner. He is he he doesn't have a blue check next to his name, but he has a lot of followers. He's like my biggest inspiration. And and it's like I talked to him on chat. I'm like, when I found you in 2018, I liked your stuff because you make dope stuff. You get the word out, you inspire people, but you stay in your lane.
Hmm.
And he's like, I really appreciate that. I'm like, more people should be like that. And there's longevity in that. Like Sage Kennedy, you
Hmm.
know who Sage
Hmm.
is?
Yeah, I know him.
He's been around for years, and he does a lot of good content, but he stays in his lane. And
Yeah, I think nowadays it's more about being flashy and I don't know,
yeah,
doing all the TikTok,
yeah,
whatever, the newest craze that you're doing. So if you're not doing that, then you're not going to have a million followers. So I'm not in it for
yeah,
the million followers. I'm just in it
yeah.
for whoever wants to watch. That's all I'm in it to.
You're in it for your passion. You like
Yeah,
creating good stuff, and you're inspiring people, and you're making content while inspiring people, and you're working on your own mental health while
that's
doing
right.
so. So kudos to you, and that's the stuff I appreciate. See me, I'm not a good content creator. I'm awful at that. I made a little video at the Wild Hair, like well, I had like a little video on my a little camera on my
You
back,
have a
my
360
pack.
camera too, right? Don't you?
Yeah, that's a 360. I had it on my the little on my pack right here, and
Okay.
I cut it up. That's all I do, you know.
See, there you
But
go. That's how it starts. So it'll
that's how it
be
starts.
Patrick the runner, or
But
whatever.
you know, I I appreciate good content. And I like watching videos like yours, and I wish more content creators would go in that route versus you know being
Yeah.
narcissistic about it. You know, um, and also last year at the Houston Marathon, I don't mind
Good
people
guy.
holding up cameras.
Uh-huh.
They were I almost tripped over 3 people with the like just having the phones because the A corral gets very compact,
Hmm.
and they were just all over the place, and like it's like you're in other people's way.
Yeah.
Like if
You have to be
you
aware of everybody
yeah
around you. You can't just be in your own space. That's what it
yeah, and
is.
like you trip someone, that's someone that could be someone's race right there that spent 6 months neglecting their family, neglecting their job, lack of sleep, risking injury, eating a whole bunch of carbs for your video.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and I understand things happen at races, but that's just, why? That's something that doesn't need to happen. I see you're out away from people doing it, and I highly appreciate that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna pull it out and be
Yeah.
if it is, it'll be in the air. It won't be like, next to me. So
You
I'm
use a
aware.
stick. Yeah, use a stick. Like there's people with the phones out just like this, and it's like,
it's crazy.
and wait till it spreads out. Wait till it spreads out. You know.
Yeah, 100%. Wait till it spreads out. All right, so we have anything last thing to say before we get to our last little game that I like to play for all these podcasts? Like what's one thing that you want to tell people about you or about running that you think that needs to be said? Or your journey, whatever you guys say.
It's running. Fitness in general is probably the best mental health tool, most underrated mental health tool that everybody has. Of course, everybody's situation is different. Sorry, my cat's meowing in there. I don't know if you hear him, but I know everybody's different. But just give it a whirl. Give it a whirl. You know, if I would have not got off the couch when I was going through chemo, my experience would have been 10 times worse. If I didn't start riding that $200 bike that I bought used from Blue Line Bike Lab, I'll probably still be drinking right now, and I probably would not have met my wife. And there's a chance I might not be here right now.
Yeah.
So find a passion, and have it improve help it improve you, so you can improve others. Help improve others. Inspire others to improve. Sorry, I can't speak, but you know what I'm saying.
Perfect. I got you. All right, so this is the last game we're playing. It's called This or That. You just pick one or the other. You can tell me a little bit more about it if you want to or not. So the first one is running or lifting. You got all the weights around you right now. Which one would be more detrimental to you if you lost it?
Probably if I lost it, it would hurt more if I lost lifting, because I have cycling to fall back on for my cardio. I love running more than cycling, but I have it to fall back on. And I say this to people: I lift for my physical health. I run for my mental health. That's
makes sense. I also lift for like being angry. Lifting's where I get all my anger out, because that's when you're like, lift heavy, and you lift heavy.
Turn on some Slipknot and just
100%. We in the same music generation.
Yeah.
All right, so next one is burgers or pizza. Easy one. Are you a vegan? I don't know.
No. If I make the burger. If I go out, pizza.
Okay. This one I think you'll like. I pretty much know the answer though. It's going to be Toyota or Ford.
Toyota all the way. I'm on my 9th.
So is all you drive is the 4Runners? Is that what you've been driving for your 9th one?
No, I've had most.
You're on Tacomas now, huh? Yeah.
No, I have a 4Runner now, but I've had 3 Tacomas, and I had a Tundra. I got a 22 Tundra, nice. And that thing was the biggest piece of.
Oh,
it was really? A new body style. It was awful, and
wow.
I got rid of it really fast, and I got the 4Runner.
Oh wow! I thought the Tundras are like the ones to get.
The old ones are. The new ones, since they changed it, I had a lot of issues. They weren't made very good. Okay. And they fixed them in 2024, but yeah, mine sucked.
All right, the next one I think I know the answer to, because it's in your Instagram name. Dallas or Houston?
Dallas is in Oklahoma, so Houston.
You gotta hate on Dallas if you're a true Houstonian.
Yeah, my cousin lives in Dallas. I love her to death. She's one of my favorite people. But yeah, Houston.
All right, and then the last one is going to be a marathon finish or 100-miler finish.
Depends on the marathon. If it's a BQ, probably a marathon, or sub 3, something like that. Probably a marathon. If it's just if not, probably 100-mile. You know, it depends on the race, to be honest with you.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I've also never ran 100 miles, so. So.
All right, so thanks for answering my questions. And where can people find you if they want to look you up? And are you gonna allow people to find you?
Yeah.
on
Instagram? I am private, but if you're not a bot, I'll approve you. It's 713 clown, but clown is spelled KLOUN.
And where'd that name come from?
because I grew up in the hip hop generation of the 90s and I acted like a clown. I was the hyperactive and I would make fun of people, like clown people. And then then you purposely misspelled words to make it look cool, I guess. And so
Yeah,
it just kind of stuck with me. And it's just 713. I'm from Houston. And
was that your gamer name back in the day too? Whenever you got the top score in Street Fighter or whatever,
no,
or Pac-Man? No.
no, that's when I tried to be like a DJ. And
Okay.
that was like my DJ name. And, I would like tag it on paper and act like I was cool, and yeah.
Well, all right. I appreciate you being on the podcast. Thank you for your time. And yeah.
Thanks for having me, and keep making good stuff. I appreciate it. I like watching it.
Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Partrick Cook and his journey in overcoming everything that he had to deal with to become the runner he is today. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, do all those things so this podcast can be seen and heard by many more people. And don't forget, every Monday there'll be a new episode of the Goku Runner Talks podcast. See you guys on the next one.